So you're fresh out of the college, you're amongst one of those, like I said, 100,000 employees. Now they are even bigger, right? So how do you make your work count? Like how do you get recognition from a leader, like to break into the next level?
Deliver to the commitment. So if we said we're going to, and by the way, this is nuanced commitment. If I said I'll send you the email in an hour, it is an hour, not two, not four, not six. If we said by end of day it'll be done end of day. And end of day is not 10 p.m. End of day is the business end of day. I did one where we were taken to a retreat for 10 days, and it was a theater class driven leadership program. No books, no PPTs, no coaching, no lectures. It was theater, and the cohort of 25 of us were super vulnerable. Most of us have not sang and danced in our life, not even in years coming up to that moment.
Hi there, welcome to another episode of Our Tech Chronicles. Today is episode number 35, and we have a special guest, Deb Debanjan, to talk about sustainable career growth with big tech consultancy. Just to put that in perspective, he has grown from being one of the employees of like hundreds of thousands of employees to be a leader in the organization, the handful. So this has been a really a long career journey, and I'm sure Dave, you have much to share in terms of your learnings, in terms of how you accomplish success, even some of the failures, and how you pivoted. Uh, and also, Dave is a avid golfer for for you to know. And so is Roshan. I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to talk about in terms of golfing, like your handicap. I know that's a big thing for golfers. Any fun stories before we get started?
First of all, Asanka, Roshan, thank you for having me as part of your Tech Chronicles. Really appreciate the opportunity. Looking forward to our dialogue. I'm handicap 14 in golf, Roshan.
So am I, 14.1.
There we go. We should do it together one time.
Yes, so
Amazing.
if you ever come this way to the Bay Area, Deb, I'd love to host you and play around a golf with you.
I'll take you on that.
Welcome.
All right, cool. So with that, let's get started. So I think we want to go through a natural journey in terms of like from the time you started your career to all the way like how you grew through mid-career to become a senior leader in the organization. And our listeners are also spread across different places in their career path. So if you can jog your memory back, Dave, to like that first few years of your employment, like what actually got you started in this industry?
Yeah. See, growing up in India and in a house that had a lot of math and science dominant, and arts in all its form, music, drawing, STEAM came naturally. Didn't have to work hard on that one. So went on to do engineering in electronics telecommunication and did really well actually. Graduated top three in the class. And also, if you all recall, around that 2000 time frame as I was graduating, India had picked up enormous momentum on tech. 91 liberalization allowed floodgates to open up. Y2K was just around that corner, and I think, as I think about it, I think that almost helped create a natural fitment in tech industry. Also, in hindsight, the starting point had another dimension that is sort of useful now, reflecting back on the core values remain pretty steadfast. Like hard work, discipline in how we approach things, and a super competitive spirit in everything, including sports and at work. Largely because of the context in which we grew up, supply demand was a big mismatch at that time. So I think the tech piece happened that way organically in my mind.
So I'm just curious, like 2000, that was decade and a half ago. Since then, has it really changed? Like, if you had to start a career today, would you still pick the tech outsourcing industry to start off, or would you do something different?
I see today there are a lot of options. I mean, honestly, back then 2000 seemed like the government sector and tech were the two, and and the other sector didn't pay enough. So that was then. Today I feel like wherever you are, including Asia, broadly India, there are lots of career choices. So today, if you ask me, I would probably do something different, creative. I almost would have become some kind of a sport athlete, or a career around sports management. Sport was a big part of growing up. Tech would have not happened um, if you were to start again today.
I know Deb is a big sports guy. You even coach the school soccer team and you
Yeah.
play golf. I know you love to watch American football amongst so many other sports. So, yeah, sorry, Roshan, I think you had a question.
Oh my gosh, Deb, learning about you, I think you and I are very similar. I'm also a huge sports person. Right now, I'm coaching my son's sixth grade baseball team. So really enjoying that a lot. But coming back to the topic, Deb, in your early stages of your career, were there any pivotal moments that helped shape who you are, how you thought about your career, uh, and helped you stand out, perhaps?
Yeah, that's a good one. So I got a start, unlike most of my peers, while in tech industry, software engineering was the more dominant field. Like actually, the idea of developing code. I unfortunately did not, or fortunately did not get to develop code. I got into tech consulting, and I was pretty raw, and I knew my senior partners were looking out for me, but I kept questioning the idea of having made it to that point pretty early on. But the idea that kept me going was making sure that there is no goof up on my work or on the pieces that we were doing. And what shaped my career was this relentless drive to deliver to a commitment, right? And learning topics, getting conversant with in the world of consulting, all sort of valuable traits. I wish I was thoughtful when I began and maybe would have been more deliberate on those kind of things. The standout part is going to be interesting. So back then in tech consulting, and you're India based right now. The career in West is yet to unfold. The way you get picked for a consulting project is not just on the meritocracy or the skill match to that assignment. There were a lot of other things in play. For example, the fitment of the three or four that were getting matched up to do that engagement, how you fit in the team, your location dependency, visa to travel to a site, etc. And so a lot of variables have to come into play. And I am grateful as I think about it right now. The initial 4 years traveled Germany. I went to Japan, Middle East, US, and did like 8 to 12 weeks projects, and came back to India as a landing point, and then I would fly out back. I think being able to do different work without hesitation, even though there were so much vulnerable moments, like didn't knew so many topics as I was picking them up, I think eventually helped stand out. And then the career accelerated after that, and I'm sure we'll talk about the mid and the career now. I think that's memorable to talk about the standing out piece, and so I'm most grateful about the global perspective I got early on.
So Deb, so you're fresh out of the college. You're amongst one of those, like I said, 100,000 employees. Now they are even bigger, right? So how do you make your work count? Like, how do you get recognition from a leader, like to break into the next level? It's not just number of years, right? It's you have to make something that count. Like, what's the advice you have for someone in that stage of the career?
Yeah, see, I have an advice right now which will be much more polished into how I would ask someone to think about it. But back then, the only thing that I was, like I said, that I was thinking about is deliver to the commitment. So if you said we're going to, and by the way, this is nuanced commitment. If I said I'll send you the email in an hour, it is an hour, not two, not four, not six. If you say it by end of day, it'll be done end of day. And end of day is not 10 p.m. End of day is the business end of day. Things like that, or even at the broader scape, if you said we're going to deliver this technology consulting strategy work by the sixth week, we will. we will work hard to make sure we deliver that. So I think just delivering to commitments was big. And then because there were so many unknowns, just from a personal standpoint, I was just trying to make sure that I don't goof up anywhere. And that meant enormous preparation. So if there is maybe one takeaway just from the way it played out, like I said, the perspective today will be different as to how I will say it. But back then, just sheer hard work, commitment helped big time, because then people knew you were reliable, you will get things done, and those were pretty endearing traits. Any industry, anywhere you work.
That's very very true. You mentioned also another thing when you were talking about you know pivotal moments in your career. Like learning the nuances about consulting. How did you stay relevant? Were there habits that you built, um, that you kept your knowledge always up to date about what's going on? And I'm guessing you said, okay, another thing that he had was relentless commitment to deliver on time, right? So along with that comes pressure. How did you handle this? I know, loaded question, but yeah.
Yeah, let's take the first part as to how did you manage that part, and then the pressure part as well. I think one of the things that happened in the organization that I first worked in, which is where I am still, is this idea of learnability.
Mm-hmm.
And what that meant was two-part work. You have to learn, unlearn, and learn at beat, at pace. So it's not a choice. And initially it was pushed, and then it became pretty organic. I have had the most fortunate opportunity to not only do early on sort of learning moments, which you had everyone goes through, but pretty much mid to now, there have been a lot of executive and leadership kind of programs, and they were of very interesting kind. I'll narrate one that will make sense as to how pivot works. For example, I did one where we were taken to a retreat for 10 days, and it was a theater class driven leadership program. No books, no PPTs, no coaching, no lectures. It was theater, and the cohort of 25 of us were super vulnerable. Most of us have not sang and danced in our life, not even in years coming up to that moment. And we learned about Mahabharata and Arjuna's role in that moment, and that allowed you to stay or pick up takeaways that were very different than if it was coached through a leadership playbook. Long after I left that, even up until now, I keep reminiscing about those moments. And the thought is that you got to deal with ambiguity, change, perspectives coming from different side, and stay pretty steadfast on your goal. You got to get somewhere. So I think those things help. So I think the dealing with that was that. Um, Pressure has not gone away. Um, Dealing with pressure has been interesting. I would say early days, I actually didn't know how I was doing. I had no idea. Like I said, every day was just get up and get to work and keep doing things. Today, I have a much better mechanism. If you think about 25 years later, I have a way to cope with pressure in a much better way. For example, and this could be an idea for many who are listening in, um, the idea of enjoying the process of building a career, that was never there. I think it's true for many stakeholders that I know of as well. Um, I would say if you could enjoy the process of building the career, which doesn't mean for me those days it was just this weekend, the idea of a weekend or a vacation as a break. I think it's a little fluffy. The better ones are who are actually enjoying every moment, and they have blended in within a day, a very meaningful day where they've taken breaks, they've walked, maybe played a friend, and worked hard. I think is much more meaningful. So yeah, so today I cope up much better. I frankly didn't. I can't reflect much upon how I did those days. I think I did okay. Is how I think.
Oh
Wow,
wow.
amazing, amazing. I love that leadership training example you brought up and how you still find it relevant and you're reminiscing about it. I thought that was a really cool example. Loved it. Do they still do that training program back in India?
They do, and one other thing I forgot to mention why it stayed back is because there was a moment, and I wouldn't do this kind of thing again ever with a choice. Didn't know this was coming. So last day, they took us out, and we have done all our theater-driven classes and all that. It was quite interesting. But then the last day was about writing your obituary. So everybody was asked to take a piece of paper and a pen and go to any part of the campus and say, write your obituary, write as if someone closest that you think of is reading it when you're done. I cannot tell you, and we were given 2 hours to do it. I couldn't finish writing a page because, and this is what, about 10, 11 years back, I could not write it, saying who, first of all, is saying it and what do you want to be remembered as. It was
Wow.
extremely hard. But I got through it when I finally got through it, and I have that copy of it. What I wrote down there, I was not doing anything that would lead to someone saying like that, if that makes sense, right? Like, things you would say. And that that created a pivot of a different kind, saying you've got to find deeper ways of how you do your things. And I'll reflect on a couple things of that pivot, not just on work and handling pressure, handling teams, people. When you touch someone and you move on, do you think about how you touch their life? Will they remember you? Etc. And whether it's customers, team members, and that had done a very different pivot for me, and that exercise alone, single-handedly, had a big impact.
I mean that holds true to life as well, right? Even with friends and always, my approach also is always have a meaningful interaction with anyone, your friends, and make sure that you are the best version of yourself all the time, right? So I really like that a lot. Um, One thing I would love to pick your brain on, Deb, is so careers normally go from like you're a doer to a manager to a leader, right? And I think a majority of us and our listeners are in this manage maybe bucket now, right? There are some doers. The transition from manage to lead is not so straightforward, right? I mean, how did you navigate that? How did you go about that? Did you have coaching? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a good one. See if I could reflect on few. First, reflect on three leaders that have had the most impact and tenure with them over the time. Three managers, and they were all of interesting kind. One let me loose, almost didn't wanted to understand on a day-to-day basis. As long as you kept him up to date, he was quite fine. Other one always wanted a ringside view and always had a complimentary thought. um, and the third one had a mix of those two with lots of complexities in how he dealt with us. um, as you think about the transition from manager to leader, one of my default position has become, is not to apply the same barometer to everyone that you lead. Each one is different, so you adjust to ensure that they are effective, rather than applying your own style to each one of them because they're all different. So that's one thought with that lens. Uh, the other thought I think happened quite interestingly, and I have a feeling it happened because of who I met and how they dealt with me. I have become like that. I am genuinely interested in the people that I work with, genuinely. So, for example, early on, a team that I inherited, meaning in the transition from manager to leader, there were a lot of tactical issues with the getting their feet on the ground with the U.S. Visa process, if you will,
Mhm.
and found a way to solve for that. It's hard, getting approvals for getting them permanent, stale process. So that from that to someone, let's say, desired to take a leadership program, enabling those two interventions on knowing that they are struggling with certain dimensions, you stay along until those things are done. So you don't just pass on instructions or wait for a review. You just join to say, let's just scribble notes on this and get things going. Okay, so I think that has helped in that transition. And today, as I think about in the if you arrive at it correctly, then one of the things that I think would happen is, it's a test for me that you are going to keep building out teams, move on to another one. If a big portion or a majority of the team is still in touch with you, then it's a good testament of your leadership. Uh, so I'm blessed that the teams that I inherited or grew organically, I'm still in touch with majority, and I feel very good about that. We have our own groups, huddles, and I get to all of them. And finally, I want to say one other thing that I did in the transition process. It was basically ingrained early on. Networking is pretty cliche, but if you can find right people to talk to on a more meaningful way, it's very very useful. So along the way, given the nature of the role that I transitioned to early on after consulting to sales, I got into sales in my sixth year. It was sort of needed to network more, but I found some, I would say, counted 4 to 5 people that I could call anytime and chit chat. They couple were friends, couple were seniors, and believe it or not, couple were juniors. And those people have stayed with me even now. And I could literally call them and say, I have a thought, I have a question. When you apply this, all these three things, right? That has helped and is helping right now, because this is still a work in progress. It's never ending.
I like
Okay.
that a lot. Can I ask one quick follow-up question? Right, your friends circle that you have, who you lean on, are they within the same company, or friend networking people that you've met even in peer companies, perhaps?
No, in fact, they are all over the place. It so happened that two of them I did meet of the six in a company when we worked together. They all moved on. But today the cohort is all over, like all over globally, and different roles, different functions. So yeah, no, they are not part of the company as such, and that's why it's useful, because they are unbiased, they are unhinged in what they say.
Yeah.
There is nothing that holds on. They can tell you, and they know me enough to give me some very raw feedback as well. Um, so that's helpful.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. Interesting. So Deb, I'm curious, like when you moved from like manager to a leadership position, like you have to change your work habits as well a little bit. And sometimes it's challenging because you are so used to like being in the middle of things, like really solving problem, as opposed to providing leadership and staying out of the way for the other people to actually do things. Sometimes, how was that transition for you? Like, how did you manage that mind, so to speak?
I think I just lost that one bit. I think Sanka blip. That last word. Can you just say that, Sanka, one more time?
No, so in part it's a mindset shift, like how you think about your role when you are a leader versus when you are like a manager or a doer, right? Because now you want the other people to be successful. You want other people to actually solve the problem, whereas you are just providing the direction, right? Unless you are really needed to intervene. How did you do that switch?
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, the things that I saw, if you will, helped shaped who I became. So the leaders that I saw, how they behaved, I picked quite a few things from them along the way. But back to the mindset bit. Like I said, one of my default position right now is that everybody brings a personality to the work, and so you adjust to that personality and try to bring the best that way. The other thing that has become interesting is that amidst different sort of variables in terms of the team and their skill set, the outcome is one team, and the outcome you're trying to get to is like one. And therefore, one thing that is almost non-negotiable in my leadership style is take eye out of the result that we are all chasing. So not a single review call goes away where we don't remind each other that in spite of our different style differences, we are all here to achieve that thing, whatever that thing is, and we are measured quarterly. So there's immense pressure any which way. um, so yeah, so the shift is keep your eyes on the goal, adjust to the personalities that you have, and just make sure that you stay humble as you because you don't know everything any which way as well. That helps navigate a lot of issues that we have. I'll tell you one other small sort of a metaphor we use. Imagine flying at 33,000 feet. You're the pilot, and you have a crew, and you develop a snag mid-air. And you know, sort of generally how to fix that. You realize you call upon the crew, and you realize that the crew is not apt right now to fix it. Whatever happened, right? Your assumption of the fact that the crew would have enough knowledge to fix it is not there. um, you have to give the feedback. You have to do something about learning and fixing it while in midair, and make sure you land safely, because the 350 odd passengers are relying on you to land safely. That kind of metaphor happens in our world quite often, very often actually. When you're working on deals, you keep running into snag. You cannot put this out on ecosystem saying that's broken, that didn't work. You just got to find a way to fix it and land it safely, or get the deal, as we will say it. So yeah, so that metaphor helps us, telling us that, just uh, keep your calm and figure out a way to get things done.
Deb, I'm loving this, right? Can you give us an example, perhaps, of how you adjusted your style for the different personalities you mentioned? Everyone is different, right? Um, could you,
Yeah, like
yeah,
for example, uh, and I keep reflecting on me as well. There's a colleague of mine. He um, doesn't want to be called upon. Just let him loose. He'll get his stuff done, and when he'll have something, he'll come back. Initially, it might bother you because your style is that you. Let's say my default style is I want know-how of all the important things, but then you say, look, I had some of it when I was like that, and I had a leader who allowed me to run free. So maybe we should just do that, right? So that helped. um, Another one doesn't want to get into details. Everything is high level, everything is delegated down, and in that process you will miss something. So you join a call to find a way to say, can we talk through the details, and you see if the details comes through from this particular person. If not, that probing will keep, because everybody is pretty senior. They eventually get it that we are seeking details and it's not coming through, so there's some work to be done. Um, and then there are certain, honestly, moments, and with few others, where you feel like you have to give a direction because it's time sensitive and it's getting sort of tight. You do pass on a stronger point of view, saying, look, I think we need to do it this way and get this moving. So like I said, you keep it flexible and adjust pretty much on a daily real time basis.
love it. Thank you.
So there, I mean, in real life, right? And we talk mostly about what you do at work, but in reality, like, you're a dad, you're a coach, you're a golfer, right? And there's so many things happening. There's a social life. How do you balance priorities across all of this?
Yeah, I love that bit because this is a very interesting topic for me. First, I never tried to balance work life. Okay, so the initial years, it was just about, like I said, a lot of hard work into every hour of the day that you had, and throughout the day, even after work finished, whatever else picked up, you keep doing it. I would say, if a report card is drawn for the first 15 years on how I did on work life balance, I think it'll be a C minus, because it was like all over the place. I have since then found a lot of calmness, and obviously helped by a very supporting family. You need that behind you, because 70% of the role was traveling, so it was helpful. What has happened is, I think, you just, when you get calm, when you know how to deal with pressure, and you have matured enough to appreciate a lot of other things that are important, the idea of work life balance will organically happen as well. So the first 15 years was, let's say, C minus. If I draw it up, the last 10 it'll be like B plus. And again, this is my version. Family might have completely different numbers. Uh, so that and then being able to blend a social and a hobby takes work too. Golf is not an easy game, not a quick one either. So I blended golf into a weekend process, and have I think Roshan will admit playing to 14 is very hard on any given day. Very very hard. I think I have played a lot of sports. I think this is the hardest one. So that's that, and I think the social one keeps me super charged up. So that also has helped. The weekend culture was had come in long early in the in West, and so being able to meet friends and wind down has always helped. But in short, I've never tried too hard to balance work and life. Just stay calm and do the things, and hoping that the report card is at about B plus when everything is said and done.
I'd love some feedback from my approach, Deb. Right? What I try to do is I try to divide my day into like mini days, to try and make sure that I can achieve everything I want to achieve. Right. So just like there's work, there's being a parent, right? There's coaching, there's the podcast, right? There's hang friends and playing golf sometimes, right? So what I try to do is maybe this is the tech geek in me. I try to organize my day. So the morning is me time where I do reflection, I do my workouts, then it's the work, and I block everything in my calendar. So that when I'm doing that, that is the only thing I'm thinking about. I'm not trying to have work leaking while I'm coaching baseball, for example, right? And then on a Friday, when I stop work and I'm with my friends, that's it. So far, fingers crossed, it is working for me. Um, and so that helps me, prepare for the podcast as well, because I know there's a time booked for that. And that time comes, that's all I'm doing. I'm spending that time to prepare for an episode. So I don't know. What do you think of that approach? Anything?
I like the structured bit a lot, honestly. And while calendar is part of our life, all these aspects of life I have not been able to calendarize. No, I think yours is most methodical, and I think is more robust, if you will, because then it really allows you to do it. I would tell you, I have on a weekend I have been on a course, and I got a call, and I picked the call, which is not necessarily a good thing. Or early days. By the way, I don't coach anymore, but I did coach for a good long years. Um, those days on a coaching field at 7 p.m., I will get a call from work, and I'll start up a routine, and I say, "You guys do it. I'm coming back." So I did it that way, and it's you know how they say in enterprises, ability to manage your unstructured data
Yes, yes.
is a big deal. I sort of dealt with it very unstructured in a way. Work is calendarized, and but everything else is not, and
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
that's true.
fine.
That's really good. I think you two are much better at managing work life. I think I might probably have a D minus there, so I'm not going to even tell how I do it. Just you should listen to these two. Definitely.
Yeah, no, I think yeah, work life is a work in progress for me as well.
We're all
All
learning.
right,
We're always learning.
cool. Any other questions, Roshan? Otherwise, we can wrap up. And maybe,
Maybe as a end topic is advice um, for the for people starting in their career or mid, especially I think the key is this midpoint of their career. How do we make that change, that climb? And I think you mentioned like planning your career. To be honest, even for me, it's still very hazy. I would love some clarity there and have a clear path. Some advice for folks like us.
Yeah, see, I don't know if it. I think some of my thoughts that I'm going to say on this topic is should be universal for anyone, literally, not particularly for early, mid, or late career. And these are all, I wish it was like this for me too. First, if you can feel and see your core values much more clearly upfront. um, I never had a conscious map of these things like hard work, discipline, integrity, so on and so forth. I almost feel like saying, if you could write them down and paste it where it is visible to you and use that as your North Star, uh, I think it's pretty endearing long term. It's much easier reflecting back 25 years and say that those things helped. But when we were at pace running, I think some of these things would have been much more helpful. I think it's going to be super helpful for the generation that's beginning to get into workforce. They are super distracted with everything going on in the world right now, and I think they could uh, do it much good for themselves if they say, stay to their core values. So that's one. Second, I have benefited immensely, like I reflected on the idea of learning, unlearning, and learning back at pace, meaning you watch what's happening in around you and adjust. If you think about where we are and pivoting, AI has taken a big part of our mind space, and it's going to keep evolving both the workplace and workforce. So I think it'll be critical for anyone, whether you're early, mid, or late, that you stay tuned and keep adjusting so you don't get caught up uh, in anywhere. So that's the second one. And finally, this one, right? We talked about the enjoying the process of
Mm.
building the career meaningfully. Um, like I said, my initial days was very different. I was not necessarily enjoying. I was doing all the things, a weekend and a vacation, but I would say if you could make every day meaningful for yourself, where you like Roshan, you have a structured way to your day. If you could just build in breaks of very meaningful kind, walking, reading, exercising. And believe it or not, while there are a lot of leadership blogs outside and all that, I know of few people who do this very, very successfully. And I watch them and I feel like they're relatively more successful. At least they are very content and peaceful. They don't necessarily have to be the top guy in that context, but they're very content in what they're doing and they're very happy. So three things again to sum up: focus on the core values, learn, unlearn, learn back at pace in context, and enjoy the process of building the career meaningfully.
Amazing advice there. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Deb. I enjoyed this conversation a lot.
Yeah, no, thank you. It was super fun, and look forward to more conversations. So thank you.
You bet.
Absolutely.